My husband is a carefree and playful person who never contributes any money to the household. Furthermore, he prioritizes obligations over me and our daughter, and when my sister-in-law got married, I hoped that this would help my husband settle down. However, that was a big mistake. Additionally, when my sister-in-law and her husband visit, money sometimes disappears from my wallet. I don't want to doubt my sister-in-law, but since there's no other possibility, I talked to my husband about it.
I give it to my sister.
Those words came back to me.
Her marriage seems tough, so I have to support her as her older brother.
Upon hearing such a ridiculous remark from my husband, I finally lost my temper. My name is Carrie Harrington, and I'm 35 years old. I work as a nurse, taking care of many patients. My family consists of my husband, Alan, who is the same age, and our 7-year-old daughter, Malia. We live in an apartment. We may be an ordinary family, but I had a certain worry. I've been married to Alan for 8 years. The truth is, he has an incredibly carefree and playful personality. He treats me like I'm from Mars and especially doesn't help with household chores or childcare. Most of his salary is spent on his own entertainment, and the money he brings home is only $1,000. And that all disappears in rent. I covered living expenses and Malia's school fees with my work. He's a hopeless husband, but I couldn't bring myself to divorce him because I hated the idea of dividing our assets. My husband has other troublesome traits. He has a serious sister complex about his younger sister Katie, who's 10 years younger than him. Katie is 25 years old and works as a model. She is beautiful and stylish enough to be in a magazine. It seems that from a young age, she was raised lovingly like a cute doll, cherished like a butterfly or a flower.
Whenever I'm with Katie, everyone turns around because of how adorable she is. There's no sister as beautiful as her.
I've been told that to the point where it's become a habit.
Our parents died in an accident when Katie was an adult. I'm the only one she can count on anymore. So, I'm determined to help Katie no matter what.
Alan said such things before we got married. At that time, I didn't know about his extreme sister complex, so I thought it was nice that he cared for his sister. But I never expected it to be such a severe sister complex. The extravagance in my husband's spending is not only due to his own indulgence, but also because of Katie. If Katie asks for pocket money, he immediately gives her $500 or even $1,000. If Alan receives a message from Katie, he'll head straight to her even if there's a battle with me or our daughter. For example, Katie relies on Alan for things like this. I bought a lot, so I can't carry all these bags. Alan, can you carry them for me? It started raining when I arrived at the station. It's truly the worst. At this rate, I'll get wet, but I don't want to buy an umbrella at the convenience store. Alan, can you pick me up by car? Hey, listen, there are cockroaches in the house. I'm scared and can't go in. Alan, please come and get rid of the cockroaches. Katie frequently calls Alan for even trivial matters like this. He reacts every time as if Katie is in trouble and rushes out. It feels excessive protection for an adult woman. Is it really necessary to prioritize matters like that and disregard his own family to such an extent? Katie is well aware of her brother's affection for her. She might even have a sense of superiority over her own daughter and me. She once said something like this to me. I'm sorry, Carrie. Alan always prioritizes me. The other day he abandoned your date and came to me. I don't want to be loved too much. While the content is an apology, Katie doesn't seem apologetic at all. Rather, she speaks as if she's mocking me. Alan's sister complex is already extreme, and Katie has quite a brother complex as well. Perhaps that's why she calls Alan over to provoke me, the one who married her brother. When I was pregnant with Malia, I thought that if he had a child of his own, maybe Alan's sister complex would subside a bit. I was a fool to expect that. In fact, Alan is not afraid to say,
Katie was prettier when she was a child.
I remember being utterly disgusted when he asked,
Is it normal to compare the beauty of one's own sister to a child's?
There are other things that are unforgivable. One day I saw Alan looking at a branded bag. Alan doesn't care much about clothing, and it was a woman's bag, so it obviously wasn't for him. Since my birthday was approaching, I secretly hoped maybe he's going to give it to me as a present. However, Alan didn't give me anything even on my birthday. Curious, I decided to directly inquire about it. Hey, I saw you looking intently at that branded bag the other day. It seems you bought it, but who did you give it to?
Oh, I gave that to Katie as a present. She had been wanting it for a while, you know? I can't refuse my cute sister if she asks for something.
I was disappointed, even though I had expected it. As a last attempt, I asked about my birthday. Today is my birthday too, you know.
Huh? Is it? Sorry, I forgot. But you don't suit a high-end bag. I'll buy you a box of sweets later, so forgive me with that.
Alice said this with a big laugh. He gave a branded bag to his sister and a box of sweets to me on my birthday. I want to praise myself for not hitting Alan at that moment. I was fed up, and divorce crossed my mind, but somehow I managed to hold back. Finally, Katie, who stirred things up in our relationship, also got married. She is with a man who works for a well-known company. Apparently, they met through a mutual acquaintance. A year after their marriage, they had a beautiful baby. Katie and her husband seemed very happy. I thought this would finally put an end to my husband's over-involvement in Katie's life. However, things didn't go smoothly as expected. Surprisingly, Alan started inviting his sister's family to our house frequently.
Hey, today I invited Katie and them over. Prepare a feast and get ready to entertain them.
What? Wait a minute. Again? They were just here 2 days ago, and on top of that, so suddenly.
It's not a big deal, right? Katie just had a baby, and she's going through a lot. I have to help her.
Despite saying that, Alan only orders me around when his sister's family comes over and doesn't lift a finger to help. Katie, who came to the house, doesn't cook or clean, leaving everything to me. Terry tries to help, but Katie and Alan stop him from doing so. In the end, I'm the one who's busy and overwhelmed. The only one who helps is my 7-year-old daughter, Malia. Alan, who is irresponsible enough to invite my sister-in-law and her family over to our house when they don't do anything, and Katie, who sits there brazenly and doesn't even try to help me when she is invited over. I felt a strong irritation toward them. There are other concerns as well. Every time my sister-in-law's family comes to our house, the contents of my wallet decrease. And it's not just loose change. It's at a level where I'm missing $19 and $100 bills. Is Katie secretly stealing? I thought she was selfish, but stealing is another level. After much consideration, I decided to consult Alan about the wallet issue. Depending on the situation, I might have to ban Katie from coming here. Although Alan, the one with the sister complex, might avoid me, but I can't just let the theft go unchecked. Then Alan casually said this.
Oh, I gave the money from the wallet to Katie.
What? For a moment, I was dumbfounded, not understanding the meaning of his words. I thought there might be some misunderstanding. Ignoring my confusion, Alan continued to speak with a grin.
She just got married, and now she's saying she can't afford to buy clothes for herself because of the financial responsibilities for her family. She wants to be a full-time housewife, for the sake of the kids. She doesn't want to work. As her brother, it's my duty to fulfill her requests, right?
Alan's argument made my head spin. It was way too much of a sister complex. Moreover, her husband Terry works for a famous company, so they shouldn't be in financial trouble. Most likely, Katie's words about being short on money are a lie. She's probably just begging Alan for spending money. But that's not the real issue. Even if Alan wants to support Katie, why is that money being taken from my wallet? If that's the case, you should give it from your own allowance, shouldn't you? Why take it from my wallet? In response to those words, Alan casually replied,
Huh? No way.
with a joking tone.
Well, if I give her my money, I won't have any for entertainment. I don't want that.
Huh?
Don't get so angry. My wife's money is like my money. I'm glad to be able to help my precious Katie with money. Keep working hard for Katie and me in the future.
Alan said such nonsense with a laugh. At this point, my patience ran out. I absolutely won't forgive him. I can't be with this guy anymore. I told him, alright, that's enough, and cut off the conversation with Alan. My husband looked at me with a puzzled expression, but he didn't mention anything. Surely, in his mind, taking money from my wallet was already a closed matter. However, from my perspective, it was far from over. I contacted my workplace, took a day off, packed my bags, and went back to my parents' house with Malia. My parents were surprised by my sudden return, but when they heard the situation, they supported me. I decided to take advantage of their invitation to stay and take it easy. Afterward, Alan contacted me through calls and messages asking,
Where are you? And are you still angry?
But I ignored him completely. Whether I decide to divorce or not, there are preparations to be made. As things stand, Alan probably won't agree to a divorce, and even if he does, there will be asset distribution. I won't accept that without a fight. For now, I decided to report the incident with a wallet to Terry, Katie's husband. When I called, Terry was surprised, but apologized sincerely. It seems Terry had been questioning the frequent visits to our house, but Katie had explained, We have permission from my brother and sister-in-law.
Don't worry, I'll make sure Katie and my brother-in-law pay for this.
Terry said this and provided me with surprising information. A few days later, Alan kept calling persistently, which was unusual. Normally, he would give up after a few ignored calls. Irritated, I decided to answer the phone. Alan's panicked voice exclaimed,
You finally picked up. Why didn't you answer the phone sooner? We're in a lot of trouble over here. And yet, where are you and what are you doing?
Noisy, aren't you? I can hear you just fine without all the fuss. I'm at my parents' house now.
At your parents' house? What are you relaxing about when Katie is having a terrible time? Come back soon.
No thanks. Calling it a rough time when Katie brought it upon herself is quite the understatement. I heard it from Terry. You were cooperating with her in her affair. Upon hearing this, Alan stumbled over his words. In reality, Katie had cheated with her ex-boyfriend. Despite Terry having a higher income, she had married him for financial reasons, but the affair had continued. The child she gave birth to was not Terry's, but her ex-boyfriend's. Terry, feeling uneasy about the lack of resemblance between the child and himself, had investigated Katie's activities and discovered the truth. Alan was also involved in another affair. Alan knew that Katie was having an affair and that the child was not Terry's, but he kept quiet. Moreover, he actively participated in creating an alibi for Katie's affair. Alan and Katie were then sued by Terry. The evidence is solid and the fee must be paid. After being evicted from the house, Katie came to Alan with her child.
To support Katie and her child, my salary alone isn't enough. I'll have to pay compensation in the future. It's going to be tough, so come back soon.
After all this, it seems Alan still intended to rely on my income. His shameless request left me utterly disgusted. Don't talk nonsense. There's no way I'm coming back. Besides, I'm getting a divorce from you. Upon hearing this, Alan was shocked.
Wait a minute. Why are you suddenly talking about divorce?
I've been dissatisfied for a while. You gave my money to Katie without asking and invited her to our home abruptly. And on top of that, you cooperated in creating an alibi for an affair. It's disgusting. We can't continue as a married couple.
You can't divorce for reasons like that. What's wrong with helping a sister in need? I'll never agree to a divorce.
Alan resisted, showing no sign of understanding the gravity of the situation. Unable to bear it, I decided to play my trump card. I have valid reasons for getting a divorce. You were cheating, right? And with Katie's help, no less. Siblings being siblings, right? You two really look so much alike that I can't help it. At those words, Alan muttered something and looked visibly troubled. This information, too, was discovered by Terry. In reality, Alan had affairs with numerous women, and most of these relationships were facilitated by introductions from Katie. To make matters worse, Katie had actively cooperated in covering up Alan's infidelity. The fact that siblings were collaborating to conceal each other's affairs was a bewildering story. From my perspective, it's bordering on madness. It seemed Alan hadn't considered the possibility of his infidelity being exposed, and he froze completely. Ignoring his state, I continued speaking. I'll be claiming damages for the infidelity in Malia's education expenses. Let's discuss it through our lawyers. Upon hearing this, Alan immediately started to panic.
I'm sorry. I got carried away because you were kind. The only one I love is you. If you want, I'll cut ties with Katie, and I promise I'll never cheat again. So please spare me from the divorce.
I felt utter contempt for Alan. Despite being complicit in Katie's affairs, he was ready to abandon her without hesitation when he found himself in disadvantageous position. Naturally, I had no intention of forgiving Alan, so I said this to him. There's no way I'll forgive you. You consistently neglected Malia and me in favor of Katie. It's despicable how easily you abandoned her when push came to shove. Stealing from my wallet and cheating, it's all you're doing.
Well, that's true, but...
Spare me the excuses. To top it off, assisting with your sister's affair and engaging in infidelity yourself? It's insane. A despicable man like you is bad for Malia's upbringing. Never come near us again. With those words, I hung up and blocked Alan's number. A few weeks later, our marriages were dissolved. Both Terry and I pursued compensation for damages from Alan and Katie. I also sought custody of Malia and requested child support from Alan. Alan paid alimony and child support in installments, and Katie paid alimony in lump sum by borrowing money. Alan and Katie now live together, but due to financial difficulties, they had to enroll Katie's child in daycare. She has started working part-time, apparently. It seemed that Alan and Katie were channeling their salaries into repaying damages and supporting the child. Without relying on my income as before, they seemed to be facing considerable challenges. On the other hand, I found solace in my parents' home, enjoying peaceful days. With my parents taking care of household chores and helping with childcare, I felt reassured. Malia, too, received abundant love and care, appearing genuinely happy. Moving forward, I am determined to work hard for Malia's happiness.